Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another transfer special as Derby have confirmed the signing of Matt Clarke on a permanent contract for 6 months from Middlesbrough. So, hey, we're bringing back a former player of the year who had two loan spells at Derby under the same manager on consecutive years, and we're rehashing that. We're bringing it back. Let's run that sucker back. And because it's such a signing, I'm just kidding. I'm being over exuberant here. Jack Bryan is with me at Ramsview HQ. Jack, how the heck are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. It's good to get one over the line. It's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next week. I think it maybe points to cash in going out. But yeah, Player of the Year back will be an interesting one.
Yeah, run it back, baby. Why not? I can dust off my Matt Clarke jersey so the club shops lost out on revenue on that, but they'll probably give him a different number like they did for Ronaldo at Real Madrid. If you remember, CR7 started as CR9, but then they were like, whoa, we're not going to sell any Ronaldo jersey because we just had Fat Ronaldo and he was number 9 too. But you know what, Jack? Matt Clarke's come from Boro, and we thought, you know what? It's been a couple of years since we've seen this guy. So we're going to bring Johnny Bullock on, our friend from the Boro Breakdown. Johnny, how the heck are you? Welcome back. It's been a couple of years.
Yes, it has been a couple of years, Corey. Has been. It's been a hot minute since I've seen your face. And yeah, I'm doing great, thank you. I'm doing really well. I'm really happy to chat about Matt Clarke as well. He's had an interesting couple of years.
Are you happy because he's no longer a Middlesbrough player? Is that why? Is that why you were smiling like a Cheshire cat there? Because you're like, I'm happy to talk that he's not here anymore.
No, I actually really like Matt Clarke. I think it's a terrific signing for Derby. I really, really do. He's been good for us. He had a really bad 18 months about of an injury, but when he returned, arguably one of our best centre backs. So I think this is a fantastic move for you guys, and I'm quite sad to see him go. I'm just smiling because I get to see you again, Corey.
Flattery will get you everywhere, Johnny. But yeah, Matt Clarke has that kind of air of being. I wouldn't say it's the most sexy signing in the world, to be honest with you. Like it doesn't like get me out of bed, and I'm like, yeah, we got Matt Clarke, baby. We're going like this is good. Like, but he's a steady Eddie player. He's one of those players that has solidified himself in mid to upper, that kind of mid-level kind of championship. No disrespects to Borough, but like anywhere between a team that's from fifth to 10th, that kind of solid defender, either one of the starters or the first reserve center half. He's kind of solidified himself as that, and he was really great here in his first spell, winning Player of the Year, obviously. But Johnny, it's been a couple of years, so talk to me about what was this injury Matt Clarke got for 18 months.
Yeah, he had a back injury, and needed back surgery, and we didn't know the how bad it was at the time. He pretty much disappeared. And when we signed Matt Clarke, we thought, wow, this is a really good signing for us because we were playing three at the back under Chris Wilder. And I was really looking forward to seeing someone who's like over 6 foot overlap. And I thought it was going to be really cool. And, he got an assist against Swansea and then got injured. So, yeah, it was a back injury. We weren't sure what it was. And then it led to him being out for about 18 months. And when a player's out for so long, you think, oh, like shit, like are they gonna be the same player of what they were before they were injured? But he came back against Leeds, got rinsed, and you're like, oh God, this is not good. But ever since that game, outstanding. 8 out of 10 for the most part. Arguably one of our best defenders, and was very, very close to winning our Player of the Year last year. And yeah, it's a very solid signing. So you're seeing him now as probably more of one of the finished articles of what you're going to get rather than before. I think he's only 27, actually, Matt Clarke, who probably doesn't look it because of the hair. But I think it's a fantastic signing. Albeit it's a bit short for now, but it could be extended, who knows, into next season. But yeah, it was that back injury which just kept him out for a little while.
And Johnny, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but yeah, it's interesting his contract, isn't it? Because he has been signed on a 6-month permanent contract, which the
Mm.
win for this is it has not took up one of our loan spaces, so that's fantastic. But the fee, I think, is undisclosed yet to be determined, depending apparently how Derby do. I think if they stay up, Borough will get more money, obviously, and if they go
Yeah.
down, Borough get a pittance, but they get a player and the wages off the books and things like that. Surprised by the length of contract and surprised that it's a permanent and not a loan. But I will say, didn't he have 6 months on his Middlesbrough contract?
He didn't have long. No, he didn't have long. So yeah, we did have the option to extend his deal, but the reason why we've let Matt Clark go was probably him wanting to leave rather than us not wanting to extend. It was him that wants more game time, and he's only really played 14 games this season. The season prior, played 24, and he was playing second fiddle and in and out of the team just due to players being more suited to our style, I would say. And yeah, we needed to probably get him off the books as well because we're wanting to bring more players in. And that move for me feels as though that it's 6 months initially with a year extension. So that's where I feel like it's going to be for the time being. Or it could be more. Who knows? Like we don't really know the full ins and outs of that contract just yet. But I think it's a good move, an interesting move for it to be permanent, and with quotations being on that, and we've got some money for a player who's going to be out of contract. So yeah, it's a move which is being led by him, and honestly, I think he's going to be really successful at Derby, and I think he'll help keep you up.
And it's good to hear that, he kind of wanted game time, isn't it, Jack? Rather than the club kind of wanted him out of the door, like you're not playing well,
Yeah.
whatever. He probably is a victim of Middlesbrough's success. They might have a good defensive, partnership and everything like that. He can't kind of break into that unless you change systems. And he's just like, I want to go and play games. So Derby's getting a player that's hungry, as well as fit and performing reasonably well as well. So it kind of all works out there in that case, well, doesn't it, Jack?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting with that is one, knowing who you were signed by, Chris Wilder, and what Johnny said about the back three there, because we know Paul Ward likes a back three. At the moment, I think he's going to really struggle to play a back three with the lack of options. So maybe there'll have to be a couple more additions. But yeah, I think it's an exciting signing in terms of just being what's necessary, but not glamorous. I mean, if we just look at his numbers, 88th percentile for tackles, 91st percentile for interceptions in championship and comparable leagues. That interception number is night and day between him and Nat Phillips, who will likely partner him. Nat Phillips only on in the 15th percentile with 0.79 per 90 compared to the 1.61 of Clarke. But in many ways, quite comparable. Clarke just maybe a bit more, looking at these figures, a bit more of an aerial threat and actually a little bit more well-rounded in terms of that passing ability, according to the stats at least.
So, Johnny, it's been a couple of years there. Jack did a great job with the statistics there, talking about his kind of his comparisons and things like that. It's been a couple of years since we've seen Matt Clarke. He's had that back injury that you talked
Yeah.
about there. Refresh my memory, because a lot's happened for Derby over the last couple of years. And I even forgot Chris Wilder was Middlesbrough. That was just wild. You just said that, this blast from the past that Chris Wilder was at Middlesbrough. I forgot that he was even there. He just seems like he fits Sheffield all the time, and they just stack him and then bring him back. And they're like, the other guy just wasn't as good as you. Like, just come back, my love. And they just have this like go back to your ex kind of thing. Um, what are the strengths of Matt Clarke today?
Wow, great question. The strengths, like Jack mentioned, there's interception play and positioning is really good. His positioning definitely helps with his lack of pace, but given the way that Derby defend and where they set up and quite that low block, not many people are getting in behind from that aspect of it. So that's covered. He can play in that back three and in the back two. Really comfortable as well. He's comfortable on the ball. He likes to play. He can play out from the back if you want him to. He's also got a good passing in from both a long range distance as well. And on top of that as well, like Jack did allude to it from statistics, he was actually our top scorer at one point this season with two, and that was kind of when we were struggling to score from open play at that point. But for the most part, you are still getting a really quality centre back at this level. And yes, he had that back injury, but he did play in the Premier League for Brighton, right? And at the time when we brought him in, we were like, wow, this is a great sign. Him and Darragh Lenihan, that's such a good pairing. And then both of them were out for 18 months, and Darragh Lenihan hasn't returned since. So it's for him, Matt Clark, I think, like I mentioned there, good positionally, good on the ball, good in the air. and also very, very good at interceptions and reading the play. You've got a really solid centre back there, and I know I alluded to it earlier, but I just think that this is such a good move for him, and to play more regularly and to show how good he is at this level because he's been so solid for us, Corey. Like, and it's a shame to see him go because he could still play on our side week in, week out and be convincing and really good. He was actually probably our best centre back for a good period last year and into this season as well. So, yeah, it's a great move. It's a really good move all around, and hopefully that's refreshed your memory a little bit. And maybe I've just over egged it, and you're going to turn around at me next week and go, Johnny, what the hell have we bought him for?
Yeah, well, Derby play at the Riverside March 1st against Middlesbrough. So hopefully Matt Clarke can be Derby's leading scorer in that game as well as we aim to do the league double over you. How we won that first game, I have no idea. But, it's also important to note, Jack and Johnny, as well, when you're bringing a player in, he's got not necessarily, he's also hungry to play, but he understands the club he's been here. And yes, Derby have changed significantly since the time he was here beforehand. We're challenging a different table, different end of the table. We have different expectations, different ownership, and things like that. But to come back to somewhere where you feel comfortable, hey, I lived in this area before. Hey, I'm coming back to this training ground. That's got to help as well, where it's not like, he's not coming from Middlesbrough to like Plymouth, where it's like, whoa, this is like completely different opposite end of the country. You know what I mean? Like it's going to feel somewhat, I know he played at Portsmouth, so that was a weird thing. And they're both in the South, but you know what I mean? Like he's coming back to some kind of home comforts. You talked about his lack of pace, Johnny, and that's kind of what scares me and Jack a little bit is like Nat Phillips and just Matt Clarke just turning to face a quick striker. That just seems terrifying to me. Where are the weaknesses or areas of improvement in Matt Clarke's game? Where is he not as strong in this game that we need to maybe cover? Because obviously Paul Warren's going to watch this. Where does he need to work on his game to be that finished article?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is contextual, right? I think in terms of his weaknesses, I think they're more covered from where the way that Derby play. He's not playing out from the back as much, although he can do it, and he's been absolutely fine with it. I think that is somewhere where you look at it from a concern, you'd go, not too sure. I probably wouldn't want that. The pace aspect of it is again contextual because Boro play a lot higher and also play with more risk when they're trying to play out from the back and try to play in certain areas. So he can get caught out from those moments. And, there's a lot for he has to run back a lot further. And with that, he doesn't really beat or catch up to his man. But that is all masked just due to his positioning. And I think that his ability to read the game helps him massively. And, he's good in the tackle. He'll win it most times than not. He's good in the box, is a threat. So I don't see glaring weaknesses in Matt Clark's play. I just see a player who needs to play and keep showing that he's good enough for the level above. So yeah, you can look at pace and go, he's just not quick enough, right? And he doesn't do this, but look at his strengths and look how good he can be because they massively outweigh what weaknesses or weakness that he has.
Yeah, Jack, he seems a good comparison to Aaron Cashin in a way. Cashin's not the quickest center half. Matt Clark's taller. They both have beards. But and they both, again, it seems very, very apple to apple comparison here, doesn't it, Jack? And it doesn't seem like, as I said at the open, I wasn't the most excited about it. It's not the most sexy sign in where you're like, ooh, wow, that's nice. But it seems a functional sign in for where Darby's at. And Johnny's just, warmed my heart a little bit that this might be a half decent signing for the Rams. And if Aaron Cashin does go, it seems like we have a ready-made replacement in Matt Clarke as well.
Yeah, he should slot right in on the left side of that defence, being left-footed. And I think, we talked about the concern of the left pace, but Cashin isn't, as you say, Cashin isn't quick. So, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Maybe in a back three, if you could get one more pacey defender to play with Phillips and Clarke, perhaps that's something Derby will look for this week. But I think looking at Clarke's numbers, they're maybe not quite as standout as Cashin's on the defensive side and in terms of the kind of progressive passing element. But I think he certainly passes the eye test and has that bit more composure than Aaron Cashin. He's done it more consistently at a higher level, and I think that know-how of the Championship is going to be a big factor for Derby in the fight for survival.
Yeah,
I
and
could
it's
probably
a
give
good.
you.
Sorry,
Oh,
Johnny, please.
sorry, I could probably give you more context there, Jack, on the passes side of things from the progressive passes because the role from our centre backs is you were more likely to see the positional play and how he play out come from more of the right hand side of play. So his progressive pass would be more probably like a sideways pass or a slight diagonal to the left back who would then play into the centre midfield and then go up from there. So probably the reason why he doesn't rank as high is just he doesn't do enough of it. So I think that is probably one of the things where maybe to flag on, but when you look at like his attempts and where like he tends to, get the ball and try pass it, he's relatively okay. Like he's fine. He can do it, but he just didn't do enough of it. Just mainly due to how Boro set up from there.
And I think it's something that Paul Warne doesn't necessarily rely on in terms of playing out from the back. I think the thing that Derby will just struggle to replace with Aaron Cashin is just that diagonal that we see multiple times a game. But I think there's enough there that yeah, he should certainly slot right in.
And with that, the final point, guys, before we end it here is Matt Clarke's not a rookie at this level either. It's not like you're taking a risk on a Premier League loan or a player from League One who's stepping up. Matt Clarke is proven in the Championship. He's played in the Premier League, but he's a proven Championship defender over 4 or 5 seasons. So he's done it. He can come in and he can hopefully slot right back in, fill that Aaron Cashin sized gap in the defense or the Nat Phillips gap, depending on what happens with Cash later in the window. But it seems like a really good move. Johnny, I really appreciate this because you have just made me so much more excited. Like I was not really that excited about the sign in this morning, but you just made me like so much more excited. So thank you very much. You've given me some hope. But thank you so much, John.
No, thank you so much, Corey. Honestly, I'm glad that I've made you excited about a left-footed centre back, and I think he's going to be honestly, I really think he's going to be a great addition for the rest of the season.
Perfect. Well, Johnny Bullock from the Borough Breakdown. Johnny, thanks so much for joining Jack and I this evening to talk all things Matt Clarke. We hope to we'll speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon, guys.